Hey everyone. So recently I took a trip to Texas to visit my mom and stepdad and to look at some houses to kind of explore the possibility of moving there, but that didn't end up working out. I still wanted to share some of the footage from my trip, especially since they live on a little farm with plenty of animals and plants. It was a pretty laid back visit, except for the whirlwind day of house hunting. I think we saw, or viewed, I should say, 17 houses. But I saw some interesting things along the way and I wanted to share them with you. So when I first arrived, my family gave me a tour of their property and their garden. My stepdad recently built these planters for my mom, and she had already started growing carrots and broccoli in them. I captured some footage of the little sprouts starting to come up, which was pretty exciting. And nearby, there was this tree that was dropping some strange looking fruit that they called horse apples. I'm not sure if that's the real name, but they looked pretty crazy with all this texture and little hairs. I kind of wanted to try one, but they said they weren't for humans. We also checked out the animals. They have 18 baby chicks that were just starting to get their feathers, and nearby was this duck sitting on eggs, though they don't have a male duck, so I don't imagine much will happen with those eggs. After looking at the chicks, we went to visit the horses and goats. There are two horses, mother and daughter, named Lucky and Charms. I believe the mom is named Lucky and she has a white spot on her forehead. They also have these three goats named Coco, Spot, and Oreo. And the goats were super friendly. The horses were a little bit more standoffish. I didn't really get to pet them very much. And around the corner at this horse shed was this Muscovy duck. She was also sitting on eggs, but like I said, they don't have a male duck. They also have two big Pyrenees dogs named Mercy and Moses who look like polar bears, but you'll get to see them a little bit more later on. And while we were out there, my stepdad gave the horses some hay and we hung out with the goats for a bit. He also wanted to show me their oak trees. At least I think he said they were oak. The trunks were really big, as you can see, and he hugged one for demonstration purposes. Later that day, we went over to my brother's place, which was exciting because I had not seen his house yet. And I think they've been living there for more than a few years now. And he took us for a golf cart ride around his neighborhood, which was very fancy. And then he drove us to a nearby lake. I believe this is called Lake Lavon. And there is a long bridge that goes across it that we could see. It was really peaceful there, and we decided to take this path down to the water. On the way, we passed some interesting plants, including these white flowers and some purple flowers. Well, I'm not sure if these are flowers, but they kind of resembled pineapples. It was a humid day and I was definitely feeling the heat, but we strolled down to the beach where we saw these cute little birds running around and I caught some footage of the water. I also wanted to get some sound of the water lapping on the shore, but my brother, being the joker that he is, tried to mimic a bird call and totally ruined my peaceful naturescape. On the way back, we spotted a black eagle. At least that's what they said it was. And then after that, we went to dinner and rested up because the next day was all about house hunting. We woke up early to meet the realtor, and on the way, we saw this truck with Woody and Buzz from Toy Story hanging off the back of it. And while I didn't get any footage of the houses, I did catch some of the flowers that were in their yards. But it was a long day, and after looking at all those houses, we were completely exhausted. So when we got back to my parents' place, the first thing we did was check out their RV and collapse on the couch. The RV was really nice, and I even got a mini massage from the chair to recharge, and then we gave the dogs some pets. So we ended the evening outside where I got some footage of the sunset and the trees, which looked especially beautiful as the light started to fade. My mom showed me her garden again and some of the new growth. We also checked in on the chicks to make sure they had water. They were still a little skittish but seemed more curious. And in the garden next to the chicken coop was this chicken I hadn't seen before. My mom called her wild chicken because she said the chicken just sort of appeared one day and decided to live with them. There was also another chicken over there named Lula, which my sister is like best friends with, even though she lives in Tennessee now. And when we were on the porch, I saw this bell that I had gifted them for Christmas. So my mom gave it a little ring. And then the dogs kind of played for a bit. And I got some footage of this chime that I had given them a while back. I think it's supposed to spin though, and it wasn't spinning. The goats and horses were gathered together eating in a corner. So I went to visit them. Can you tell I'm obsessed with those green things? I have no idea what they are. The animals look so cute though, so I just kept filming them for a long time. And they were kind of like, "What are you doing over here?" Then, while I was chatting with my mom on the porch, I asked her if they had any other animals that I hadn't seen. And she said they had another duck that liked to come and go. And right when she said that, the duck arrived and landed on the horse's shed and was sitting there like a weather vane. So I had to get some footage of that. And my mom also showed me her pea sprouts, and I asked to see this seed organizer I had gotten her for her birthday. It's from Daisy and Ginger Co. And she said she really likes it because it keeps her seeds from getting moldy. So then gradually night set in, and my mom brushed the dogs, and I ended up rearranging one of the grandkids' rooms for fun. I don't think it was that fun though for my stepdad though, because I unplugged the router and all his cameras. So yeah, he had to fix that. The next morning, my mom was still sleeping, and my stepdad was out in the spare building watching sports or something. So I decided to walk around with the dogs and get some footage. It was really nice. The dogs followed me, and we went up to the fence where they sat down. They were such good listeners because they recently did a lot of training. And then my stepdad came out, and I asked if I could take the dogs to see the horses and goats, and he said yes. And he mentioned there were some cacti on the edge of the property, which is about 1 or 2 acres. So I decided to take the dogs and see if we could find the cacti. As we walked over to visit the horses and goats, the dogs stayed right by me, one in front and one behind, like my little entourage, which was so cute. And to my surprise, the goats decided to join in and started walking with us. I eventually did find the cactus, though it was much smaller than I expected. And afterward, I spent some time exploring the trees and petting the goats. And they were so friendly, especially one named Oreo. He's the brown goat. He was particularly affectionate. When I got back to the house, my stepdad was collecting fallen branches for the fire pit. So I helped him with that. And he showed me some branches with big thorns and told me a story about stepping on one which went straight through his foot. So that sounds painful. It's kind of like how bougainvilleas can be in Arizona. Later, we went for breakfast at a little place in Roy City called the Texas Cafe Diner. It was hilarious because I was filming a sign that said "Let's Eat" that was hung above my parents' heads. And when I put my camera down, I saw they were leaning together, posing, thinking I was taking their picture. So I had to take one, of course. On the way back to the house, we picked up some hay for the horses. And then once home, my mom started watering the plants while my stepdad unloaded the hay. And then I helped him take it out to the barn using their Ranger, which made the job way easier. And while my mom was watering, she gave me a fresh tomato from her garden. And she just rinsed it off with the hose, and I got to enjoy it right there. She also watered her lemons and her broccoli, and of course, the little sprouts that were growing in the wooden planter. And I wanted to add that my stepdad built that with no kit or anything. He just built it from scratch, which is pretty impressive. And I also spotted this huge spider that they have in the corner of their porch called a zigzag spider because of the pattern of its web. It was just hanging out and they were like totally unfazed by it, like they just let it live there. And as the day wound down, we went out for dinner at a place called Arbolitas in Royce City. I had some veggie enchiladas, which were delicious. And on the way back to the house to get my luggage, we passed by a local mill, which I believe is used for animal feed. And then we also drove by their old house to take a quick look around the area and see how it had changed since I had last been out there a few years ago. And then after that, it was time for me to grab my things and for us to head to the airport, which was about an hour away in Dallas. And soon enough, it was time for me to go through security and go home. I made sure to wave goodbye a few times. I hope you enjoyed coming along on the visit, and I will see you next time. Bye.